Hi, good morning. Okay, so now we have done our running records, we have our data collected, and now we are looking at our guided reading lessons. But before we can get started with that, I thought it was really important for you to know what resources we already have access to here on campus. So today we're going to look at 3 different resources. We are going to look at our guided leveled sets in the library. So that's where I am right now. We're also going to look at Learning A through Z, where we can find some leveled sets. And then we are also going to look at our Rigsby library, which is what came with our HMH resources, okay? So I am in the library right now towards the back, and right here you can see all of these blue book boxes. Now, the thing that I love about this is you have a Spanish set, and then we also have our English set, okay? When we are looking at these, the most important thing for us to notice is that you are looking for the level that you've already established during your running record. So if your students are reading on a G, I would come down here to the very first G and then start working your way down. So you have about 10 to 15 different leveled sets, which is exactly how much it should take for your students to start moving to different levels. And guided reading is a very systematic approach, so it eases them into the next level. So when you start at the beginning of G, it's going to be exactly that, a G. But by the time you get to the end of G, it's already started to transition them to the next letter, H. Okay, so let's look at what our actual resource looks like. Okay, so I have grabbed a level C just so we can look at what we have. The very first thing that you will notice is you have this little baggie. On the baggie, it has a letter C. In the baggie, you will have a set of books. This is important when you are actually making your guided reading groups for you to know how many resources you actually have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have enough books to have 5 students who are reading on a level C. This is their book. And this is called My New Rocket. This is what the level C words look like. And then you'll notice that this is the nice picture. So remember, when we're still on levels A, B, C, D, we're still kind of picture heavy, which is why these pictures are so nice. And then we'll look at an H so you can see the difference in the text. So there's your book. Now, what I also like about this set, and guys, this has been in the library for a good minute, okay? So we've had it, is you also have your teacher edition. So this is everything you need in order to have a successful guided reading. Now, remember that your guided reading sessions, they're not normally just one session. Usually you have 2 to 3 different sessions all using the same book, right? The first time you're going through this book, the kids are trying to figure it out. You're really helping them. The second and the third time, this should be a familiar text for the students, so the activities will run a little bit smoother. So what you have here is a summary of the book. You actually have the supports, the challenges, the features, and the high frequency words. Now, anytime I started my guided reading lesson, I always had a whiteboard next to me, whether it was my big whiteboard in the classroom or whether it was a small one, and I can show you that a little bit later. And I would go over the high frequency words or some flashcards, maybe some index cards, some kind of sight word activity where they are going to actually go over all of these sight words. That way when they get to the book, it's just a little bit easier for them to go through. Now, if you've never taught a guided reading lesson, this is your guided reading gold. This is liquid gold, okay? You are going to have your teacher focus, and it tells you exactly how to introduce this text, and it also gives you your time limit, okay? So this is just a quick 5-minute introduction to your text. Okay, and then it tells you every section you have a little timer. And it explains to you how long you should take, what you should be saying to the students, and then the reason why you should say it. And that's like the most important thing we need to know, right? The why behind it. Okay, so that is all session 1. And then you'll also notice right here you have some ELL support, okay? And then it takes you to session 2. So now you're going to revisit that text because they should be familiar with it. You're going to go through it again. You're going to have some different activities to do with it, right? And then now you move to the actual activities. Okay. You also have your phonemic awareness, and you have your word recognition, and you have a writing connection. This activity, and you also have this activity. So you will have to make a couple of copies, right? I will tell you that a lot of times I use some of these activities or this one as a part of their like center rotation in their independent practice, right? Because by the time they get to these, they're already familiar with this book because we've read it a couple times together. Okay, so this is in the library. It is for your use. Okay. Now, I will tell you that when we have checked these out in the past, we have had these little clips right here, and this is just to indicate like Miss Boykin came in and she is using a book out of this particular box. Okay, so this is a level C. I'm going to put this back, and then I'm going to come back with a level H. Okay, so now we have a level H. Same thing. I have my bag to help keep all of my materials together. Here's my teacher guide. Let's look at the level H. So now we are looking at the complexity of the text, and you can truly see the difference in a level C versus now we're at an H. Now, we're still in first grade, right? Because first grade has the biggest jump when we're looking at beginning readers to a little bit more proficient reading, okay? So the text is a little smaller, a little closer together. We still have our pictures because that's important when you are in first and second grade to be able to have that support right there. A good reader can kind of get to a word, not know what it means, and then look over here for some support. So here's our H book. And then just like in our C, now every single level in every single book you have, you will get your teacher support. Okay, this is your support. Now, what you have here as far as your supports, your challenges, your features, it'll change a little bit. You notice we'll start getting into more focused kind of TEKS, right? So we have our session 1, and this resource only breaks it into 2 sessions, right? So you have your first session, your second session. Here is your second session. And then you have this activity you are working on sequencing, and your second activity. Again, I would usually make copies of this and put it in their independent practice. This was a part of their center. So when I had my center rotations, they did not get this until they came to me. So they would come to Ms. Boykin's table. When they left my table, their very next center would be whatever worksheet I wanted them to work on that had to go with the story. And that was just a great way to keep them fresh, right? We just finished the story. Now you're going straight to this activity. Okay. So I'm going to put this away, and then I'm going to come back so you can see some of our Spanish resources. Okay, so this is our Spanish resources. It's designed the exact same way as our English resources. This is a level A. So these are your books. Same thing, you have 5 books. Here is your story. This is a level A. Okay, and then you also have your teacher guide. And remember, if you have never taught a guided reading lesson, this is the best place to start. Take this home over the weekend and just kind of look at where you should be. You have your session 1, and then you have your very detailed. You have your session 2, same thing that we talked about on the English side, and you even have your activity. Okay, so these resources are located in the back of our library. Now, we also have one more resource that I want to show you that's back here in the back of our library. The reason why I'm showing this to you is because a lot of times we're like, oh my gosh, if only I would have had those resources. Well, guess what? we have those resources. So I'm going to come back and show you if you want to pull guided reading groups based off of specific groups, specific skills, standards that they need to work on, we have that too. Okay, so down here at the very bottom, we have some resources that can help with some very specific skills if you're looking, like drawing conclusions, analyzing the story element. And these are very skill based. So let's take a look at one of these. Okay, so this is a different resource. But like I said, if you're looking for a very targeted skill, like your students are having some difficulties with analyzing character, okay? So I went over to the analyzing character box. I looked for the level C3. Now we know that different guided reading systems use different numbering and lettering. So this one has both. So this is a level C. So in first grade, my students are having some issues with analyzing character, but that's okay. I found the skill that I needed to work on. I have the books that my students are going to use. This is a level C, so I'll just show it to you really quick. Okay. And then I still have my teacher guide, which is probably the most valuable part of this entire system. So right here, this is going to tell you vocabulary, level 1 comprehension, how you can go down to the different comprehension levels. So maybe you have a few different C groups. Maybe your first C group is just they are super low. They don't understand the thing that they're reading, right? You're going to come right here when you're taking a look at comprehension. But you also have a level C group that, you know what, they're a little bit higher. They're so close to that D, like they can touch it. You're going to want to come down here to the level 3 and the level 4 comprehension, okay? And then again, you have your teacher's guide, okay? This one is a little bit more TEK and standard specific, right? So we have our theme. We want to kind of let them know, okay, guys, today we're going to be looking at people and culture, so we can kind of get their brains turning a little bit, okay? This one goes into your phonemic awareness, your phonics, and also your concepts. And then same thing, okay? This is what you're going to do before reading. You have your ELL support, okay? If you're working with students who need a little bit more help, it's going to tell you exactly how you can help them. And then this is how you're going to help them build some comprehension, okay? Here's some different things that you can do. You can have them write independently. You can also take these suggestions right here and move these into your centers so they're a little bit more purposeful. Okay, and then this one even goes into like your skill bank. All right, so this is also a really great resource. So in the library, we have two different resources. We have the blue boxes, which is your leveled guided reading sets, and then we have some at the bottom. They are multicolored boxes, but they have skills written across them, and that's where we can find this. And then guess what? We also have it in Spanish, okay? So our Spanish speakers and our English speakers are going to be getting the same loving when it comes to guided reading. Okay, so this is our first resource that we looked at. We have 2 more resources coming. I'm going to stop this video and make a second and a third video. That way they are not extremely long, all right? So be ready for our second video where we look at our HMH resources.